I think it's also important to mention how this collecting tradition began from Sukarno, our founding father, who I think he started building his collection since 40s before the independence, and then it stopped actually in the 60s when he had to resign from the presidential position. But during that time, I think there was like more than 2,000 works that he acquired.
What has since happened to that collection?
It's still kept in the presidential palaces.
And it's considered a state asset?
Finally, yes. Finally, yes. Although it was actually formalized a bit late in the 90s, that his collection became the state collection. So it was spread out in different palaces. One in Bogor, of course, the presidential palace in Jakarta and in Bali also.
Okay.
And then, yeah, Sukarno was the one who really influential even in it's not just patronizing the arts, but he built a close relationship with artists. He appointed an artist to become the governor of Jakarta, Heng Antung, in the 60s also, and that somehow creates a model, like pattern, for other government officials or even like private businessmen to start to love art. It happened the 80s to be like the peak of this boom. Yeah.
Do you find that contemporary collectors today still have that close relationship with the artists?
In a different way, yes. In a different way, I think.
Can you give a couple of examples?
Well, interestingly, there has been a group of young collectors who gather a lot with artists. They even hold a regular talk, like they invite artists to talk about their works, like individually, like
in
one by
Jakarta?
one. In Jakarta, this is in Jakarta, and mainly the circles are like Jakarta collectors actually. And of course they also like, because they I think they have like their financial capacity to go to openings in Venice, or they go to Documenta. They attend all these blockbuster exhibitions, and sometimes they ask artists to join.
I see. So the Indonesian contemporary art scene right now is really financially buoyed by not only senior collectors who perhaps might have been collecting and focusing on modern Indonesian, but now there's a whole younger generation of collectors.
Yes, after 2000.
After 2000.
And this has to do with the fact that the China has been actually the Chinese art market has been also the model for this
Interesting.
new development.
Because in Vietnam there is a complete near obsession with trying to copy the Chinese in their development of their art from Vietnam, and a lot of
Also in terms of collecting.
more actually in terms of how to build a market. And one of the interesting things in the conversations over the last 5-7 years for me with these sometimes high official people from government is that they don't quite understand the landscape required to build that market. So I think there's a landscape required. You can't just have a group of collectors and a group of artists and that's it. There's actually a whole mechanism that you and I actually as curators feed. Actually, what have you considered after 3 weeks of being in Saigon? You've been meeting quite a number of different artists. Has Saigon met your expectations, exceeded? What kind of comparisons can you draw with your own?
Of course, I'm hoping to understand more about Vietnam, and because my current trip is just to Saigon, so
Yeah.
My understanding is very somehow general or artificial, but I think we have some similarities in terms of especially the lack of government support. That somehow you in Vietnam try to overcome by contributing something to the scene, by building spaces or like what you do in Sun Art actually, which somehow similar to how also some Indonesian young artists want to be independent from any not conducive situation, like they want to overcome it, and I think there is also a militancy that I understand from some interviews, that there are not many full-time artists in Saigon, I think.
No.
And that somehow makes me it's really something that really inspiring also, that they do something else, like they work for commercial purposes like advertisement, but then they use the money that they have from their income to do art. That's very actually independent in a way. To compare with Indonesia, where some artists that I know, they are really dependent on the market. They are full-time artists, but they were really dependent, and somehow, or to a certain extent, that they are more like market-driven in their works.
Yes, it's a bit of a catch-22 with the presence of the market. I mean, China has fallen complete victim to that market, and it's a cost of its creative innovation. I think it's lost a sense of real integrity. The creative impulse has become monetized. It's lost a sense of historical weight. The subjects being interrogated are completely watered down, and the idea of taste is more palatable than to create something that is actually a historical statement or a social statement. And that I find quite sad, but I think for me Indonesia is sitting on that rocky cusp, because there's still some really wonderful artists that are still very much concerned with a lot of economic and social issues.